The demonstration. The Galactic Medical Academy's pristine halls hummed with activity as students from a dozen star systems hurried to their advanced trauma response class. The Academy was the most prestigious institution in the Orion Arm, built on an artificial satellite orbiting a neutral star system. Its gleaming white corridors featured gravity adjusters, atmosphere modulators, and temperature controls that accommodated the diverse physiological needs of its many species. Maya Chen, the only human in her class, rushed down the corridor, weaving between tall, willowy Altarians and bulky, exoskeletal regions. At 24 years old, she represented Earth in the exchange program, a rare honor considering humans had only achieved faster-than-light travel 30 years ago. The other species had been traversing the stars for millennia. Hurry, human, called Tesk, a Zeta Reticulum student with scaled skin that shifted colors with his mood. Currently, it pulsed an anxious yellow. Professor Vaxler never forgives tardiness. Maya quickened her pace. "Thanks, Tesk," she said, grateful for the warning. Being late to the infamous Professor Vaxler's Galactic Emergency Response class would mean more than just embarrassment. It could jeopardize Earth's standing in the program. They slipped into the amphitheater-style classroom just as the chronometer shifted. The room was filled with students from across the galaxy, each species sitting in environment-adjusted sections. Maya took her seat in the human standard gravity and atmosphere bubble, noticing she was still the only one there. Professor Vaxler, a proximan with 8 limbs and compound eyes that could see across multiple spectrums, glided to the center of the room. His voice resonated through the neural translators worn by all students. "Today, we examine emergency trauma response across species," he announced, his multiple limbs activating holographic displays above the central platform. "Each of you will demonstrate your species' approach to a severe laceration injury." Maya felt her heart rate increase. She had prepared for this, but demonstrating primitive human medical techniques in front of these advanced species always made her nervous. Most alien civilizations had evolved beyond physical pain or developed technology that made injuries obsolete concerns. One by one, students came forward. A Protean student used molecular manipulators embedded in her fingers to literally restitch torn cellular structures. The class murmured in appreciation as the simulated wound closed without leaving a mark. Next, an Arcturian released symbiotic organisms from specialized glands, which rapidly consumed damaged tissue and replicated healthy cells in their place. The holographic wound vanished within seconds. Tesk's demonstration involved secreting a crystallizing agent that formed a protective shell around the injury, while nanites in his bloodstream repaired damage from within. The technique was elegant, involving no tools at all. When Maya's turn came, Professor Vaxler's compound eyes focused on her with what she interpreted as skepticism. "Human Maya Chen, please demonstrate your species' emergency response." Maya stepped onto the platform. Feeling the weight of dozens of alien gazes, the simulation activated, creating a deep laceration across her forearm. The pain sensors embedded in the classroom's neural network sent sharp signals through her nervous system, a perfect replication of a real injury. The alien students leaned forward, curious about how this new species would handle trauma. Maya took a deep breath and reached for her standard-issue first aid kit, considered an antique by galactic standards. She pulled out antiseptic spray, applied it to the wound, and then pressed the edges together with simple dermal adhesive strips. No nanites, no molecular manipulation, no symbiotic organisms, just basic physical materials. Throughout the procedure, her face remained calm, her breathing steady. The pain was intense. The simulation made sure of that. But she worked through it methodically. "Pain management?" Professor Vaxler asked, his translator conveying confusion. "Standard analgesic," Maya replied, injecting herself with a simple pain reliever. "It will take effect shortly." "And until then?" asked a Centaurian student with translucent skin that revealed shocked neural pathways lighting up. Maya shrugged. "I work through it." The classroom fell silent. The concept of working through pain was foreign to most of the advanced species present. They had evolved or engineered pain out of existence millennia ago. You continue functioning while experiencing pain signals, Professor Vaxler clarified, his exoskeleton clicking as he moved closer to observe. Yes, Professor. Humans can compartmentalize pain when necessary. Maya finished bandaging the wound and stood tall. I'm fine now. The procedure is complete. The alien students stared in disbelief. Some activated their neural translators' emotion sensors to verify what they were seeing. To them, continuing to function while in pain was as incomprehensible as breathing underwater without equipment would be to humans. Professor Vaxler's color changed to a deep purple, the equivalent of fascination in his species. Explain this ability, human Chen. Maya hesitated, unsure how to explain something so fundamental to human existence. Humans evolved on a high-gravity, high-danger planet, she began. Our bodies developed pain as a warning system, but we also developed the ability to override it when necessary for survival. Throughout our history, humans have performed emergency procedures on themselves, continued fighting with severe injuries, or traveled for days with broken limbs to reach safety. The class murmured, neural translators struggling to convey concepts that had no equivalent in many alien languages. A Syrian student with bioluminescent appendages raised a limb. Is this why humans advanced so quickly from planetary civilization to space travel? This? Pain tolerance. Maya considered the question. Partly. We call it resilience, the ability to continue functioning despite adversity. When our technology fails, we improvise. When our bodies fail, we adapt. Professor Vaxler activated a new holographic display showing human medical history, crude surgical techniques from centuries past, battlefield medicine, emergency self-surgeries in extreme situations. Fascinating, he said. Most galactic species develop technology to eliminate pain and physical limitations. Humans instead developed psychological mechanisms to endure them. The Arcturian who had demonstrated earlier vibrated slightly, their version of a head shake. But why maintain such primitive methods when neural blockers and molecular restructuring are available? It seems inefficient. Maya smiled. Because technology can fail, tools can break. In emergency situations, humans rely on what cannot be taken away, our ability to endure. Professor Vaxler's compound eyes focused intensely on Maya. Class, observe closely. Human Chen has demonstrated something rare in galactic medicine, redundancy. While your advanced techniques are more effective in controlled environments, humans maintain capabilities that function even when technology fails. He turned to address the entire class. Tomorrow, we will conduct an emergency simulation. You will be stripped of your advanced tools and placed in a crisis scenario. I suggest you all study Human Chen's demonstration carefully. As the class dispersed, several alien students approached Maya with questions. Their initial dismissal of human techniques had transformed into cautious curiosity. Tesk's scales had shifted to an interested blue. How long can humans function with pain before physiological shutdown? It varies, Maya explained, but much longer than you might expect. There are documented cases of humans surviving injuries that should have been fatal and continuing to function for hours or even days. A Protean student joined them, her crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the classroom lights. Is it true that humans sometimes intentionally cause themselves pain as part of cultural rituals? Maya nodded. Some cultures practice endurance rituals, yes. From tattooing to extreme sports to childbirth without pain management, humans sometimes choose to experience pain. The concept seemed to disturb and fascinate the alien students in equal measure. To species that had evolved beyond physical discomfort millennia ago, intentionally experiencing pain was as alien as breathing vacuum. As Maya packed her first aid kit, Professor Vaxler approached her station. Human Chen, he said, his voice modulated to private frequencies. Your species is often dismissed in galactic circles as primitive newcomers. But today you've demonstrated an evolutionary adaptation that most advanced species have lost. Tomorrow's simulation will show your classmates why resilience remains valuable, even in our advanced age. Maya looked up at her professor, surprised by the compliment. Thank you, Professor. We may not have the biological advantages or technological history of other species, but humans have never let that stop us. Professor Vaxler's exoskeleton clicked in what the translator identified as amusement. Indeed, and that, human Chen, is precisely what makes your species so intriguing to the rest of us. Prepare well for tomorrow. I suspect your classmates will be looking to you when their advanced systems fail. As Maya left the classroom, she felt a new confidence. For the first time since arriving at the academy, she didn't feel inferior to her alien peers. Different, yes, but perhaps that difference was strength, not weakness. She touched the now-healed simulation wound on her arm. Tomorrow would prove whether human resilience truly had a place in galactic medicine, and she was determined to show that it did. The emergency. The next morning, Maya arrived at the simulation chamber early. Unlike the sterile classroom environment, this massive facility could be programmed to replicate any scenario from a starship crash to a planetary disaster. Students milled around the entrance, their various appendages, exoskeletons, and sensory organs creating a cacophony of movement and sound. Human Chen, Tess called, his scales now a confident green as he approached. I analyzed your demonstration from yesterday. Fascinating adaptation, working through pain. Maya smiled. Thanks, Tesk. Though I'm guessing today's simulation will challenge all of us in different ways. Indeed, agreed Nixera, the crystalline Procyon student, joining their conversation. I've never operated without my molecular manipulators. I'm concerned. Before Maya could respond, Professor Vaxler entered, accompanied by several simulation technicians. The chatter died down immediately. Today's exercise will test your ability to adapt when technology and biological advantages fail, the professor announced, his 8 limbs moving in perfect synchronization as he activated the chamber controls. You will be divided into teams and face a cascading emergency scenario. Neural inhibitors will temporarily block your species-specific advanced capabilities. A wave of unease passed through the students. For beings who had relied on advanced biological or technological systems their entire lives, the prospect of operating without them was alarming. Remember, Professor Vaxler continued, in true galactic emergencies, systems fail. Energy fields collapse. Technology malfunctions. When that happens, basic knowledge and adaptation become paramount. The students were divided into 5 teams of 6, each deliberately mixed to include diverse species. Maya found herself grouped with Tesk, Nixara, a bioluminescent Syrian named Lux, a massive region called Dorn, and a telepathic Proximan named Shira. As they entered the simulation chamber, neural inhibitors activated. Maya watched as her teammates stiffened, suddenly deprived of abilities they took for granted. Nixara's manipulator appendages went rigid. Tesk's color shifting stopped. Lux's bioluminescence dimmed. Dorn's exoskeletal enhancements powered down. Jira's telepathic antennae drooped. How do you feel? Maya asked, noting she felt no different. Humans had no enhanced abilities to block. Blind, whispered Lux, whose species typically perceive the world through 12 sensory channels. I can only see basic light spectrums now. Heavy, groaned Dorn, whose massive frame normally relied on gravity-negating implants. The simulation activated, transforming the chamber into the interior of a damaged starship. Red alert lights flashed. Artificial gravity fluctuated. The computer announced in multiple languages, critical system failure, hull breach imminent, medical bay compromised. Professor Vaxler's voice came through the communication system. Your objective is to stabilize the ship's critical systems, treat the injured crew members, and prevent catastrophic failure. You have 60 minutes. The scenario was brutal. Without their enhanced abilities, Maya's alien teammates struggled with basic tasks. When they reached the simulated engine room, They found it flooded with radiation that would have been harmlessly absorbed by their normal biological defenses, but now posed a serious threat. The radiation shield generator needs manual realignment, Nix-Era said, examining the ship's diagrams. But none of us can safely enter that chamber without protection. I can, Maya volunteered, remembering her basic radiation training. Humans have always needed physical protection from radiation. If I can find a lead-line suit in the safety locker, I can handle the realignment. But the neural interface requires telepathic connection, Jira protested. Without my abilities. We'll bypass it, Maya said confidently. On Earth, we had mechanical systems long before neural ones. There's always a manual override. It's a basic engineering principle. While the others looked skeptical, they had no better options. Maya located an old-fashioned radiation suit, entered the chamber, and found the mechanical override just where engineering logic dictated it would be. With the radiation shields restored, they moved on to the next crisis. In the medical bay, they found simulated crew members with various injuries. Without their advanced healing abilities, the alien students froze, uncertain how to proceed. Here, Maya said, taking charge. Tesk, apply pressure to this wound. Nix-Era, prepare bandages. Dorn, we need to stabilize this fractured limb. But without molecular regeneration, Nix-Era began. We don't need it, Maya interrupted. Humans treated injuries for thousands of years before we had advanced technology. Pressure stops bleeding. Splints stabilize fractures. Clean bandages prevent infection. The principles haven't changed. Under Maya's guidance, they stabilized the injured crew using surprisingly effective primitive techniques. As they worked, Maya noticed her teammates watching her with growing respect. You're not impaired at all by the neural inhibitors, Lux observed, his diminished bioluminescence pulsing with what the translator identified as admiration. Because I never had those abilities to begin with, Maya explained, fashioning a splint from available materials. Humans evolved solving problems without telepathy, molecular manipulation, or enhanced physiology. We had to develop different kinds of intelligence, adaptability, creativity, endurance. The ship's computer interrupted with a new alert. Atmospheric processors failing. Oxygen levels critical in 5 minutes. The team rushed to the environmental control room, only to find it locked behind a security door requiring biometric authentication, which none of their inhibited systems could provide. We're trapped, Dorn rumbled, his massive form slumping in defeat. Without our enhanced capabilities, we cannot override the security systems. But Maya was already examining the door's edge. There's always another way, she muttered, locating the manual emergency release hidden in the panel's design. Earth ships had similar failsafes. Technology built with human limitations in mind always included manual backups. When the panel popped open to reveal primitive mechanical controls, her teammates stared in amazement. How did you know that was there? Jira asked. I didn't, Maya admitted, working quickly to restore the atmospheric processors. But I knew something had to be. No responsible engineer designs a system without redundancies, especially life support systems. When lives are at stake, you never rely on a single solution. As oxygen levels stabilized, Professor Vaxler's voice came through the communication system again. Final challenge activated. Bridge lockdown in effect. Command crew incapacitated. Ship on collision course with stellar debris. Time to impact, 10 minutes. When they reached the bridge, they found a chaotic scene. The simulated command crew lay unconscious. The ship's automated systems were locked in a collision course with an asteroid field. The neural interfaces that would normally allow instant course correction were offline. We need manual controls, Maya said, scanning the bridge. Every ship has them, even if they're rarely used. There, Tesk pointed with a scaled appendage to a small panel beneath the captain's chair. But it requires specific knowledge of stellar navigation without the neural astrometric programs. Maya knelt and activated the panel. Basic directional controls emerged. primitive by galactic standards, but perfectly functional. I can fly this, she said with confidence. Navigation is just physics and mathematics. The principles are universal. Her teammates watched in astonishment as Maya's hands moved over the controls with practiced ease. On Earth, she had trained on mechanical simulators as part of her historical education, never imagining those skills would become relevant in advanced galactic travel. With seconds to spare, she navigated the ship through the asteroid field, bringing it safely into open space. The simulation ended, the chamber's environment returning to its neutral state. Professor Vaxleer entered, accompanied by the other teams. From their dejected postures, Maya guessed that the other groups had been less successful. Team 3 is the only group to complete all objectives, the professor announced. And the reason is clear. His compound eyes focused on Maya. Human Chen demonstrated why galactic medicine and emergency response must never abandon basic principles in favor of advanced technology alone. The neural inhibitors deactivated, and Maya's teammates visibly relaxed as their abilities returned. But their expressions, translated through posture, color changes, and bioluminescent patterns, showed new respect. The most advanced species in the galaxy evolved beyond pain, beyond physical limitations, beyond mechanical interfaces, Professor Vaxleer continued. And in doing so, some of you lost something crucial, the ability to function when those advantages fail. He activated a holographic display showing each team's performance metrics. Only Team 3 succeeded because they had human Chen, not despite having a human member, but because of it. Her species' primitive adaptations proved to be their greatest strength. After the class was dismissed, Maya's teammates surrounded her, their neural translators working overtime to convey concepts foreign to their languages. How do humans do it? Nix, Era asked. Function without enhanced abilities. Maya considered the question carefully. We never had them to begin with. Humans evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, extreme environments. We survived not by evolving perfect biological solutions, but by developing problem-solving intelligence and sheer stubborn determination. But the pain, Tesk insisted, his scales shifting in puzzlement. Yesterday, during your demonstration, how did you continue functioning? Pain is just information, Maya explained. It tells us something is wrong, but humans learn to acknowledge that information without being paralyzed by it. We developed mental compartmentalization, the ability to feel pain but not be defined by it. Dorn, the massive region, lowered his armored head. My species engineered pain out of existence 10,000 years ago. We considered it an evolutionary weakness. But today, when my enhancements failed, you had no backup system. Maya finished for him. Humans never eliminated our weaknesses. We just learned to work around them, through them, despite them. Professor Vaxleer approached their group, his exoskeleton reflecting the chamber's lights. Human Chen has demonstrated why the Galactic Medical Academy insisted on including Earth in our exchange program despite your species' technological immaturity. You bring perspective we have lost. He turned to address the entire class. The most advanced medical technology is worthless if it fails when needed most. Human resilience, their ability to endure, adapt, and overcome with minimal resources, is not primitive. It is essential knowledge that many advanced species have forgotten. As the students filed out of the simulation chamber, Maya felt a tap on her shoulder. It was Tesk, his scales now a respectful blue. I dismissed humans as primitives when you first arrived, he admitted. Today you showed me that what I perceived as weakness is actually strength. Your species thrives not despite adversity, but because of it. Maya smiled. That's the human paradox. We're simultaneously the most fragile and most resilient species you'll ever meet. Will you teach me? Tesk asked, surprising her. Not just the techniques, but the mindset. How to function when technology fails. One by one, the other students joined his request. Even Nixara, whose crystalline form had initially radiated disdain toward human medicine, now hummed with curiosity. As Maya looked at the circle of alien students, beings from civilizations thousands of years more advanced than Earth, she realized something profound. Humans had finally found their place in the galactic community, not as technological equals, but as teachers of a different kind of advancement, the advancement of spirit, of will, of the determination to survive against all odds. "I'd be honored to teach you," she said, "though I should warn you, human resilience training isn't easy. It involves facing limitations rather than transcending them." Professor Vaxler's translator conveyed what might have been a chuckle. "I believe that is precisely the lesson the galaxy needs. Human Chen. Sometimes the oldest wisdom is the most valuable, and sometimes the newest species has the most to teach." As they left the simulation chamber together, Maya felt a surge of pride. Humans might be newcomers to the stars, but they brought with them something no technology could replace: the indomitable spirit that had carried them from stone tools to starships, driven not by physical superiority, but by the simple, powerful human refusal to give up. In a galaxy of wonders, that might be the most wonderful thing of all.